The Horror Vision is brought to you by Saint X Booksellers, located at 4665 Torrance Boulevard in Torrance, California 90503. Phone number is 424-318-5110. You can reach them Saint-X-Books. That's SAINT-EX-BOOKS at outlook.com. And you can tag them at Saint X Books.
Oh, I'm sure he exists.
You must not smile. The devil is a prowling spirit who doesn't like to be mocked.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision presents Sticks and Stones. My name is Sean.
And I am Count Anthony.
And I am Dr. Johnny Black Mass.
Appropriate, Mr. Dr. Black Mass, sorry.
Yes.
Dr. Black Mass, today's movie was your pick.
Yes, sir.
And I believe it was fresh. I believe you had never seen it before, correct?
Yeah, I had never seen it. I plenty of opportunities to see the film. What we're talking about is Juan López Moctezuma's Alucarda from 1977. Never seen it. Always wanted to see it, and decided to use my Sticks pick, which originally was going to be Onibaba, as an excuse to watch it, and I'm glad that I did. This is a folk horror film that both fits the category and blows it up.
Yeah, I
No
agree
shit.
with that 100%. Talk about how it fits folk horror.
Okay, well, this film basically just kicks the legs out from under The Exorcist, and that's not a slight against The Great Exorcist.
No.
That film is an absolute masterpiece of both horror and just cinema in general. But what's interesting is that, you have most English language horror, folk horror, which of course The Exorcist is not a folk horror. It uses Christianity and a clash with pagan landscapes. And Alucarda just reverses that equation. Christianity becomes sort of the irrational, violent, supernatural force that destroys young women. And so in many ways, this is a film that has a, a little bit, sort of a kinship with The Wicker Man in that regard, but in a way, it's uniquely Mexican to the 1970s. This film, first of all, is not in Spanish. It's in English. You can definitely tell that some of the characters are dubbed, as
Mhm.
you do in most Dario Argento films
Yeah.
from the 1970s. And this was a common practice, both in some Latin American countries and in Europe during the 1970s. Um, and but what's interesting about it is that um, you have these isolated communities of a covenant and sorry, convent, and you have what is essentially this idea of uh, ecstasy versus authority, where like a sexual release and queerness becomes just such a fascinating thing, because the erotic in this film becomes this something that society calls evil, but when in actuality it becomes freedom. So it becomes like really just sort of a threat that undermines everything. And so it's basically, it just sort of takes like the traditional like equation of like the holy priest fighting against the demonic forces, and flips the scripts. They're these are the bad guys now, which is no wonder why this film was banned
Yeah.
in several countries in Europe, from what I understand. It is loosely based on Sheridan Le Fanu's novella Carmilla, which is a pre-Bram Stoker's Dracula vampire novel, and is really for some people considered to be, like the seminal feminist text for horror, although I think people who say that do a great injustice to the great Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin Shelley, for whom my love of horror is indebted to.
Hmm.
But yeah, this film is in a nutshell, really, is the story of an orphan named Justine who is sent to a convent where she encounters Alucarda, which backwards spells a Dracula, and
What?
and and they kind of try to connect it to the Dracula novel by saying, that her Justine's mother, who orphaned her, was Lucy Westerna. Pay no attention to the fact that this takes place,
Right.
20 years before Dracula, or not even that, in some kind of like nondescript kind of public uh, part of history. Um, and it blends in with like a lot of things that you find in, and there's a lot of the supporting cast is kind of interesting. It's a sort of especially Claudio Brook, who's him and other people in the supporting cast are kind of a veritable who's who of the Mexican golden age of cinema. This is a guy who, was starring in the films of Fernando Fuentes and Emilio Fernandez, and also the great Luis Buñuel's film Viridiana, which would also be a very good pairing with this film.
Hmm.
Uh, Unlike British folk horror, where Christianity becomes is suppresses pagan survivals. Um, Mexico presents a much more complicated religious landscape that comes through in this film, where despite even though it's commonly thought that the Spanish colonialism established Roman Catholicism as the uh, de facto state religion, uh, indigenous cosmologies survived and became interwoven with Catholic rituals, and that comes through here. So it kind of wonders if the film, in some ways, asks if it or suggests if Catholicism itself has become a folk religion.
Almost
And
like Haiti, right? The way voodoo just like absorbed Catholicism because it's like, yeah, it's the same thing. They're like, you call them, we call them, Papa Legba, you call them whoever. It's fine.
yeah, and there's so many different connections. Normally, I would save the what would you pair this to? What would you have as a double feature? That's kind of sort of a oblique reference to a ritual that we do on This Movie Saved My Life and the Horror Vision. I'm going to do it now just because it kind of sprang to mind right now. If any of you two or any of the listeners have ever seen Paul Verhoeven's film Benedetta, uh, I would recommend that as a pairing with that because it's a French nun story that really
Right.
kind of harkens back to the Inquisition, where female sexuality is a threat that must be stamped out, and it becomes a liberating force. So it's like we can talk about, and we will, about how this film pairs quite well with The Witch, The Wicker Man, A Field in England. Um, Not so much with Kill List. I
Mm-mm.
sort of felt like if folk horror was weed, Kill List would be, a heavy indica, whereas Alucarda is, a hyper sativa. Uh, and so, uh, did I love it? Not particularly, but I enjoyed the hell out of it, and it we'll get into the visuals momentarily. I don't want to talk for too long here, but it was really the visuals that did it for me. Just sort
Hmm.
of the surrealism that is like, it's no wonder. Montezuma is clearly a student of Jodorowsky, and it's quite clear why Guillermo del Toro holds him in high regard.
Yeah. Anthony, had you seen this before? Talk about your relationship with this movie and how it was watching it.
One time before, and it was like background at a bizarre party I was at. Everybody was nude. I had a funny mask on. All the other men had masks on. The women were. I'm just kidding. No, this was under I saw it under the moniker Sisters of Satan on a
Oh.
VHS import that a buddy of mine had. So again, just bizarre thing that was on in the background. Every once in a while, I'd kind of tune in to see what it is, and like, oh, he's just watching Sleaze. I didn't know what it was. Right. So this is my first time actually watching the film in its entirety and paying attention. And yeah, no, I had a really good time with this. I found a lot to laugh at, and not because things are funny, but back to what you guys were talking about as far as like um, modern Catholicism and Christianity just kind of being the butt of the joke. I got that a lot, obviously a lot during this film, and you see the good doctor, slandering everybody until he has his, come to Jesus moment, what have you. But I I really dug what I what I saw. There were a few times where I did laugh out loud because something on screen was just goofy as all hell.
Hmm.
Um, i.e., the meeting with Susie Sue in the woods and them, performing the Spellbound music video. It was hilarious. That part was funny anyway. But yeah, no, I like the representation that they give here towards, other peoples and paganism, obviously, just anything that's anti what the norm was at the time. And I like that they tie that into the surrounding areas and woodlands and whatnot, that there's still this element of mystery and something much older still around that has control over the land and its people, and that influence is still strong and rivals what the church has to offer, which is a bunch of garbage and gobbledygook anyway. That's just my
Hmm.
opinion on it. However, I did really like a lot of the cinematography was good. I like the sets. The sets were fantastic, even
Yeah.
though like one of them was just drapery over one of the same buildings that they'd already used. But it was cool. You could
Yeah.
tell where you could tell where the budget was.
Yeah. Right.
Um,
Right.
I did like, costume design was fantastic. I liked, how they made the nuns look. And they had this, I guess it was like the I guess kind of like an absorption of sin where they wouldn't have the nuns replace the bottoms of their garb, and you could just see like, well,
Menstrual
period
stains.
menstrual stain, exactly. They didn't shy away from what womanhood is. They didn't shy away from what the human body is, but at the same time still finding a way to uh say that those temptations that the body has and that is natural is still sin. I'm rambling on a bit about what
No, not at all. Not at
Catholicism
all.
says is right and what's wrong, and we all know it's all crap anyway. But yeah, as a first time viewing, I really did like what I saw here. This is definitely a unique film. I was kind of bummed that there was no like Blu-ray or really solid remastering of this film to find.
Yeah.
I sought it out online, as do you, and I mean, I was still happy with the viewing, but at the same time, I would really like to see a really polished version of this to
Yeah.
see what it would look like. I think it deserves it, if
Yeah.
anything. Is it has since become a cult classic and talked about in a lot of horror circles. But yeah, this is the first time I've been able to sit down and really pay attention. John, thank you very much for picking this one. It's a rad like introduction to what this type of cinema is, especially considering. Well, actually, I have a question.
Hmm.
John, do you know if this was shot in Mexico? Because they really make it seem like it's a European film. Like they make it very European. So I'm not sure whether or not it was filmed there or where. I don't have too much on the history of it.
Yeah, I mean I think they shot it in Mexico, from what I
Okay.
understand. A lot of people they think of Mexico as being this arid desert tropical place, and by and large it is, but there are places that do look like it, and largest concentration of monarch butterflies in some of these areas. So they probably could have shot it there. I'm not aware of them taking a production to Europe. I could be
Okay.
totally wrong about all
No,
of that, but
I just happen to have IMDb up on my phone right as you asked that, and the filming locations it says Estudios America,
yeah,
um, now known as TV Azteca Studios. So yeah,
yeah,
Mexico.
that's Mexico City.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because it does leave you with the question of like, oh, this looks like a very European film. This looks like them doing Hammer, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
Yeah,
it looks fantastic. So yeah, I was fooled. And then I have to keep cycling back. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a Mexican production. Is it done there or is it done in Mexico? But yeah, no, fantastic what they've done with it. I really like this flick.
I like that, Anthony, that you're comparing it, to Hammer, because it's like one film that I was constantly thinking of was Kim Russell's The Devils when
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
this. And did you see Santa Sangre with us at Vidiot's when it
I
was
did not. Unfortunately I didn't make it to that one.
yeah, Santa Sangre, the Devils, and to some extent Suspiria, but Suspiria, or Dario Argento in general, it's like the color schemes, the
yeah,
palette is very similar, but Argento is much more polished, whereas, like,
yeah,
this is a punk rock horror flick. It wears its dustiness on its sleeve, and it and there's no such thing as, I love how there's no such thing as creeping dread in this thing. Like, this film starts at 11 and stays there.
yeah. Right. Yeah, it ends abruptly at 11.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I remembered from right when it started, and Kirsten watched it with me, and I remembered the color and just the visual look being the first thing that grabbed me, like right away. And it was same thing. Like as soon as it started, it's like, oh my God, I love the way this looks. So, and cinematographer just had it. Cinematographer Javier Cruz,
Hmm.
really, really, I excellent camera work. I really liked it. There was some stuff that I didn't expect because it is punk rock, John. You're very right, and like Anthony said, you see where the budget went, and they didn't have a lot of money, and they made it anyway, and that's I really like that. Um, but so I didn't expect there's a couple shots, especially near the end, that were a little bit more complex than I expected to see, as far as how they move the camera. So hats off there. Composer Anthony Guffan. Um, it's one of those. It's if there's anything that creeps in this movie, it's the score, which is not really omnipotent at all. But there are some moments where it slowly fades in with that very electronic, fuzzy synthesizer that I really like as like an accent. But otherwise, I told Anthony this. Here's what I always think about this movie. When I watched this originally, a guy that was my boss previously, so this is probably like 2011, and he was really into old, just old movies and horror movies, and I remember going, yeah, I just watched Alucarda. You ever see that? And he's like, a lot of screaming in that movie.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's been the tagline ever
Yeah.
since because there is so much fucking screaming, but also immediately endeared to me because the first time I watched it, I'm a huge fan of the first two My Life at the Thrill Kill Cult albums and the Cooler and Jesus EP, and there's so many fucking samples that they use. I couldn't believe it. And in fact, the first time I watched it, I'm pretty sure I actually recognized her voice and like her cadence before even one of the sample phrases came up. Very distinct. Um, but it's such a weird movie, and I love that the whole scene with the like you guys were saying where Christianity it becomes or Catholicism becomes the evil where they have Justine, up on the fucking cross, right? Not crucified, but up on the cross, and it's like, take off her clothes, we'll look for the mark. It's like, really, right? And then they're like slowly I don't know that I would call that stabbing her, but like, making incisions to make her bleed. And I'm just thinking like, and all the nuns are writhing like in weird like ecstasy. And I'm thinking, man, if somebody walked in and saw this taken out of context, well, even in context, it's fucking insane. But out of context, it looks like they are doing exactly what they would be accusing the two girls of doing, right? It looks like a fucking satanic ritual for sure. Um, and then the doctor walks in and admonishes them for all of it. But then, here's the thing I don't understand ultimately about. I don't know that the movie has a message, but I love the Christianity as the bad guy or Catholicism as the bad guy. But then it almost, I don't want to say it reverts, but when the doctor like falls under, oh, now my daughter's involved. Now I mean, if anything, maybe it's an indictment of that's exactly how people are, right? It's like this is bad until I need it, and then it's not anymore, or this is, I don't know, but I don't love that he comes around to the church's way of thinking because he is a man of reason and they're clearly insane. Although there is the demonic element as well, I guess. I don't know. It could just be repressed sexuality, and it's like, leave him alone. I don't know.
I mean, is he rational either? Because I mean, he's still using elements of barbarism through his methods of doctoring. I mean,
That's true, but it's
who's worse?
1877 or whatever. But that's
Yeah,
true.
who's worse? The disciples doing the bloodletting or him doing leeching on the fucking
Yeah,
girl because
yeah.
that's
No,
the way
that's
you get out
true.
a demon.
I
It's
mean, being a
ridiculous.
doctor at that point in time is not like being a doctor now. And I'm not. There's plenty of doctors now, or just maybe the profession in general isn't, so hot to
Well,
try. I
not
don't know.
long after that, they would have just stuck a spike in her brain, and
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's where that goes. But yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I just that scene is so bizarre where it's like, disrobe her. And it's like, dude, you got a teenage girl hanging naked on a cross, like, now you're. It's so. Oh, it's just really weird. But yeah, like you said, the fucking visuals and not just the way that the film looks and the colors and the cinematography, but also just, I mean, I love the sequence with Justine emerging from the bloody coffin and just covered in blood and like smacking the fuck out of the nut. Like it's that image is so visceral and insane. Like naked girl covered in blood. Like I don't know. It's not like we haven't seen it elsewhere before, but I maybe not before this. I don't know.
I love the jumps to immediate nudity. It's not like there's any stripping. It's like full full
Yeah,
bush in like 2 seconds. And
and
you're like, wait.
right away, I'm like, oh, you could tell this is because Kirsten's like, what year is this? I'm like, I forget. It's like late '70s, and like a beat later, like the first time they disrobe, and I'm like, you can tell it's the '70s, right?
Oh
Like.
yeah, right away. Not that there's anything wrong with
Not
that.
that, no, not at all. I mean, if you want Abe Lincoln down below, that's cool.
Hey man, old natural, brother. That's right. But yeah, one of my favorite scenes in the film is actually the flagellation scene.
Mhm.
Even like and it's just as ludicrous as anything else in there. But this is how
Yeah,
they're trying to come up with the plan. They're standing around flogging each other, self-flagellation, trying to come up with like, oh, you know what? It must be Satan. It's got to be this. It's got to be, we've maybe we should do an exorcism. Just coming, beating the shit out of each other, drawing blood, obviously, and then getting around to just, what we need to do? We need to exercise these broads. Uh, it's just this really bizarre moment in the film towards the beginning of the third act that I don't know. It's puzzling, but at the same time, it's just this weird piece that they just. I don't know how this scene got into the movie because I mean, what do I know? I've never been a
what
priest
further
before.
shows how that they're fucking nuts, right? I
Right.
mean,
You're
that
right.
sets up
Exactly.
that they're nuts,
Yeah.
right? I
It's
mean, and
it's
also
more
the nuns are all basically topless. I mean,
right.
their breasts aren't hanging out, but they're barely covering
Yeah.
themselves
It's
in the
more of that
presence.
vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In the presence of the priest, and it's like, I mean, you do there, nobody can look at this and not wonder, right? Like there's
Right.
the whole thing, the whole church for being as repressed as they are is so sexually charged in like a really weird, like if you just all like maybe pair up and fuck each other, then maybe you could get past this and not be so creepy, weird, religious. I don't know. It's fucking weird.
Is that
Eh,
blasphemy I hear?
Yeah, always.
what's even more interesting is like the moment we first see the Mother Superior, Sister Angelica, where she looks like she belongs in a leper colony, just like the
Yeah.
way, just like with her outfit. Just like I was like, oh my God, it's like, yeah, like a medieval leper.
Yeah, Kirsten was asking me, she's like, "What is with that?" I'm like, the first shot of her is from behind, as the stagecoach pulls up, um, and stagecoach, whatever.
Yeah.
The coach, well, I guess it is a coach, um, as it pulls up, and Justine gets off, but she's like, "Is this a movie with mummies?" That was the first thing she said, because from behind it looks like it's going to be a mummy movie, right? And I'm like, no, and I didn't remember those costumes at all, not at all. Um, yeah, very, very odd.
Which I still like. I like those as just a part of the nun's character that because they're all bloodstained, and then not
Yeah,
just in the groin region. It's all over the back from just wherever they've basically got their badges of honor from getting the crap beat out of
yeah,
them by their superiors or what have you. But I do think they're pretty cool. And in a way, I see how this kind of influences a lot of more modern stuff. Like to me, when I watch that whole group of them, kind of writhing around, I see the nurses from Silent Hill. And like, oh, this is cool. Like to see how this has evolved through the years and um, basically gives off this like group of women that are supposed to be offer help or the same thing with the nurses from Silent Hill, where they're supposed to be something that's there to help you, and they're much more nefarious rather. But that's not to say all the nuns in this movie are nefarious either. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily what I'm saying. But
no, I
again,
think
just
they're all just misguided by the
oh,
religion and
100%,
you know.
100%. Sean, tell us about the pagans. I'd like to hear some more about the pagans and your weird hunchback friend that you made while watching this film.
Hmm.
I took that, and it's funny. I didn't get the Europe. I mean, there's obviously like it has a European vibe, but also we know that there's elements of that came over. But that's the one part where it takes me to a year because to me they just look like Romanis.
Right.
So, and I don't know if there was an equivalent in Mexico at that time. I mean, I guess of course there's always nomadic, tribes of people or whatever. So I don't know what they were called or if it was as like legendary or iconic, I guess, as Romanes. Um, but that guy, like, I feel like they could have. It fits for sure his whole get up, right? But it also takes me out a little bit because it is pretty goofy looking. I love that you said Susie Sue. This woman that he's with. It's another thing where I'm not sure I completely understand because if it's Romany and they're just looking to like make a buck and maybe at best offer some kind of like alternative guidance. Um, I don't understand why he's like the devil that appears unless it just took his form. I don't know. Do you guys have a read on that?
I mean, just as far as temptation goes, and Alucarda's already been tempted. That's why she knows where they're at and knows where to take Justine to go show them. Like, hey, because you could tell there's already an element of quote unquote corruption in her,
Yeah.
and obviously she wants to bring Justine into this with her sexuality and
Yeah.
further corrupt her and whatnot. So yeah, I like that he uses uh worldly desires like trinkets and offers talismans and all these other little random things that to us are well, to me, it don't really have any bearing on the physical world around us or metaphysical for that matter. But
Right.
she buys into this stuff, and it's the quasi gateway into whatever form of this paganism is that ultimately just ends up being lumped in with Satanism or devil worship, what have you. Um, so I guess in that regard, that's the connection, is he's the great tempter. So that's it. But what a goofy fucking form for somebody as cool as Satan to choose to, embody. Like, why that?
Yeah.
Be the goat. Be the fucking goat. You know, I
Yeah.
would rather see the goat. But you
Agreed.
do get a goat in some way. You get the Baphomet mask and all
Yeah.
that stuff,
Yeah.
which is cool. And by now, for those that know about the film, those scenes are pretty iconic. I know what those are, having only seen them maybe once in my life, but those things
Right.
have, been ever present in horror history ever since. And people, associate this film with that imagery, that specific satanic imagery as well. Um, so yeah, I think that's kind of the link there. Um, I feel like I wish there would have been something a lot more overt, but again, budgetary constraints. You get a mask. You get a guy in a hunchback with a mask. That's it,
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
works, It works. I can't complain too much.
Every horror film is a self-discovery about what what frightens you, what touches you in a
True.
bad place.
Ooh.
And this film definitely reinforced for me the idea that um, overwhelming excess, frightening does not make. And but I don't view it as a negative here. I mean, it's
Hmm.
just, you know, part of the part of the whole, unholy Guar concert that we're all getting here. Having said all of that, I think my favorite part of the film, and the one that did kind of give me the GBs, was Justine riseth from the grave.
Yeah. That the
And
bloody
and
coffin, right? That's
yeah, the
badass.
bloody coffin, that was great. That was my favorite part of the film, far and away.
So we start the movie in that crypt, right? Where um I believe it's Alucarda's mother gives birth to Alucarda at the
Hmm.
beginning.
Yeah.
And then the woman with all the straw or hay in her hair takes her away. um, and the mother is like, don't let him get her. Don't let him get her. And then after the woman leaves, the midwife leaves with the baby, then you hear the and the thing where they kind of suggest that the devil is in the room or whatever without saying it. I like that subtlety. Now, I didn't catch the mother's name or if they even say it, but then there's the scene where Justine and Alucarda go into the crypt and she opens that coffin. Before she opens the coffin, she says, "Look," and I don't remember the name that she reads off the coffin, but she's like, "She died 15 years ago, right when I was born." So I'm assuming the coffin she's opening is her mother's, and her mother died there. I don't know if either of you saw something that I missed that was more overtly on the nose, like yes, or that was just the way that I read that scene.
I just figured that's what they were hinting at.
Okay. Uh, but I that set, I love that fucking set, and then also like the set in even just little things like the hillside where they're playing at the beginning, like that really looks. It just very like I remember that from the first time I saw the movie. There's something about the colors and just the that location that just burned in my brain. And then the chapel or whatever the fuck it is. Like they have their giant, Jesus on a cross behind the priest, but then behind that, and Kirsten's like, "Are those all bodies?" I'm like, "I don't think they're actual bodies," but then I was like, "I don't know if they're bodies or not," because there's all these other forms hanging behind the crucifix, and it's so unique and unnerving. It's really really interesting set design.
The bodies behind them, was it like was there a mural behind it?
It maybe it was a mural. I'm
Because it
not
looked like the
sure.
crucifixion where you had all the other disciples and
Okay, so maybe
other
that's what it
folks
was.
crucified up along with them.
Okay.
Always look on the bright side of life. you know, that's what it looked like to
Yes.
me anyway.
Fuck yeah.
Sorry.
No, that was that
I had to
that
throw that in.
that
Those are the
rules.
best. I think if if I was to just sort of distill this down into like maybe another like adjoining subgenre, it would be it- maybe folk horror, is like too loose to contain this film. I think, maybe anti-authoritarian horror, might be a better description because because Alucarda, I mean, she's the character, she's the idea of like, okay, is she a monster? Is she a martyr? And I think if you were to, ask the director, he'd probably say she's more of a revolutionary.
Yeah, I think that's a good read.
Yeah, I concur with that.
I mean, really, she's killing her oppressors. And another thing I didn't pick up at all, and Kirsten just like she's like, the end sequence. She's like, oh, they're doing it's Carrie. They're doing
Yeah,
Carrie.
it's scary. It's like, and is she really possessed, or is this, the possession just a label that was imposed on her by the church? I think that is where like all of this comes into play.
Well, and that's a very good question, and one that I'm not like I don't really know how to answer. And not that you're necessarily asking me to answer it, but I I do. I, the church is clearly the butt of the joke or the point or whatever. But then also there are moments where I'm like, I mean, she's calling out, Belphegor, Astaroth, Lucifer, Beelzebub, and that's creating, all these things are all these people, these priests and iconography and nuns are bursting into flame. Um, and like I don't know how to read it. She is a revolutionary. She's destroying her oppressors, I guess, across the board. But then also like it feels like at times there's a bit of an indictment that both Justine and her are evil. So I don't know, but I mean I like that ambiguity too.
I like the tie of the paganism to the land and the people that are surrounding this, quote unquote, bastion of hope, and that something much older was already there, pre-existing in the land, much like in any other country that has paganism in its past, be it, under whatever moniker it is. Um, and that, this great infidel from Rome has, set foot in this land and is now trying to take foothold. And I'm glad that, much like from a revolutionary standpoint, she's able to, eradicate it from the land and give it back to, those in power from long before, i.e., the old temple that was there, and those who worshipped at it. And again, that old temple, I really wish that they, well, this is why I want a cleaned up version of this film so I could see what those statues were. Most of it's so covered with webbing and whatnot. And even in the time during, the birthing scene in the beginning, there's no distinction between like time frames. So it looks old already. I just wish I could
Yeah.
see more clearly what those statues were. Um, so yeah, look, I'm just glad Susie Sue was in the movie, and it was fantastic. Um, other than that, what do I want to add? Just that I don't think she was the bad guy. I really don't. Again, I think she's obviously an example of someone who is othered, who is
Hmm.
trying to that the church wants to shame, and much like a lot of the tenets of modern Satanism, their people are taught to become empowered. And so I'm glad that by the end of this film she is indeed empowered,
Yeah.
and using uh higher demons names as incantations or whatnot. I thought that bit was a little bit silly just because she was just spouting
Yeah,
off names. But
yeah,
you know, again, I was really cool. It was really cool to see her empowered by this otherworldly force to again eradicate this filth from the land.
I agree. It's like because just so much of folklore is about like the return of the old gods, and yeah, Alucarda, both the film and the character, does something that is far stranger. Just
yeah,
suggesting that the old gods never left; they just put on different clothes.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah, I enjoyed this, and this used to be very hard to come by. I can remember seeing it. I think this would be shortly after I actually I probably watched it before 2011. Now I think about it, because I think it was 2011. I saw it at Amoeba. I remember my friend John came in and going up to Amoeba, and it was like $80 or $60. It was really pricey. I was like, holy fuck. And then like looking into it, and periodically over the, in the interim since then, I would look it up, and it's either not available or super expensive on eBay, secondary market for that Mondo DVD. And then when you mentioned this, when you declared this as your pick, I ended up buying a DVD for like 15 bucks. I was like, oh my God. And then realizing very quickly after, like, oh, it's not scarce anymore, because I bought it. I bought it on Prime Digital today, even though, look, if you buy a movie digitally and they lose the rights to distribute it, you lose the movie. That's the way it is. But it was literally $3.99 to rent it or $3.99 to buy it. So I'm like, I mean, if I lose it, I lose it, right? So I got the DVD coming. It was delayed, but it's definitely one I'll be glad to have in the collection. I don't know how often I'll watch it, but it's worth being seen. And the fact that nobody, I mean, how Vinegar Syndrome or Severin has not done, there must be a story, right? There's a rights thing or something, because how makes no sense. So it's out there. So.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts? Anything we missed?
Thanks for this opportunity. Uh, uh, yeah. I mean, uh, yeah. I decided to roll the dice on something, and I'm glad that I did. And this is talking about it with like-minded people. It's a great excuse to do it. So, thanks.
Uh, well, thanks for picking it, Anthony.
Same thing. Thank you guys. Thank you, John, for picking it. It's given me an opportunity to sit down and really focus on it, and you know, possibly add this to the collection. Really dug it. Really enjoyed it. I love talking about it here this evening. Yeah, great movie, fantastic movie, and it's out there widely available for those who don't want to spend the money. It's you can find it. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
recommend watching it. And it's short run time, hour 17. Definitely worth your time.
definitely.
Starts with a bang and doesn't stop till the end. It's great.
Yes, and I'm glad you pointed out the runtime again, because it is on Daily Motion, it is on YouTube, it's a bunch of places. You want the one that's an hour and 17 minutes. You don't want the hour and 1 minute. I don't know what they cut out, but I mean, if you're gonna watch it, you might as well watch it, right? So,
Right.
Anthony, you are the next Sticks pick.
Ooh.
So you don't
Okay.
have to. If you have something in mind, you can say it now. Otherwise, you can stew on it for as long as need be.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I have one offhand just yet.
Okay.
I think within the next couple of days I'll throw it out there. So
Okay.
sorry, no sneak peek, kids.
That's okay. That's
But yeah, we'll have something soon.
I feel
well.
like this is a moment where that show, Are You Afraid of the Dark, where like they throw the sand on the fire just to
Oh
make
yeah,
it leap
nice,
up.
nice. Uh, that's Alucarda. This is the Horror Vision presenting Sticks and Stones. I am Sean.
I am Anthony, your lord and master.
Nice.
And I'm John.
And this is what the devil does.
Oh, I'm sure he exists.
You must not smile. The devil is a prowling spirit who doesn't like to be mocked. When incoming high school senior Lisa McCready's boyfriend and classmates are brutally murdered at a party in the woods, the quiet suburban community of Sundown Hills transforms into a paranoid nightmare. Betrayal, corruption, and dark family secrets push Lisa dead center into a burgeoning class war where rival millionaires plot to steal the town's future between reliance on big oil and the incoming age of legalized weed, electric cars, and social conscience. As she struggles for answers, the killings continue, and Lisa finds the world she knew is little more than a lie to placate the masses and keep a satanic 1% in power. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of Murder Virus, A Collection of Desires, and Volume 4, comes Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, Teenage Giallo Mystery.